Here we go.
And we are live.
And welcome to the Groovy podcast. We're supposed to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. And welcome to the latest episode of the Groovy podcast, live from the G3 Summit in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My name's Ken Cousin. We've got Baruch as usual and a cast of thousands, if you will. You want to say something, Baruch?
It is a full house. You cannot see like anything except of people. It's like full of people.
Yep. Full of people. Yeah, well, we'll copy and paste them into the video after that fact here. Why don't we introduce who we do have available on the podcast? I suppose we should start with a person I have mentioned many times is one of my personal heroes, one of the principal authors of the Groovy in Action book. We have a couple authors of Groovy in Action, but one of the principals is Paul King, all the way up here from Australia.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm worried because I can see a big thing on your screen.
Sorry about that.
Keep going.
Yep, so you came in from Brisbane, right? Yep. And you're the reason I know it's pronounced Brisbane.
Yes.
Right?
And what
Brisbane, if there's any other Americans watching.
Brisbane.
Brisbane, right? And I also know from Luke Daly not to suggest that you get a Foster's. That's not a good idea, right?
That we export that to the US because we won't drink the stuff yet.
Right, right. But
we keep the good beer at home.
That's okay. We send you all the Bud Light.
It's a fair deal, eh?
So I'll just say good day, Mike, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Next to Paul, of course, we have the head of the Groovy project and has been for the last, 13 years now?
Yep.
Yeah, gave the keynote at the opening of the conference on the Groovy journey to open source and everything is Guillaume Laforge,
Yes.
which is French for Will Smith. Right.
So, yeah, hello everyone.
Yep, now a Google employee, as it turns out, where he's converting Google to
the letter G, Google, Grails, Groovy.
Guillaume, Graham.
Yeah.
Keeping the G in.
Griffin. We got to mention for Griffin for Andres, right? He's going to know. It's converting Google to Groovy at that point, right?
Pretty much.
That's your subversive job underneath the rest, right? We also have Soren. How do you say your last name? It's been Glacius.
Glacius.
Glacius. It's just like it looks, right?
Oh, that's much simpler than it looks.
Yes.
Glacius.
Yeah, Soren is the head of the Great Conf series, especially the one in Europe, right? In Copenhagen.
Yes.
Yeah. Do it.
And I work for OCI on the Grails team.
Which is a very popular decision these days. That's
When
very good.
is the next Great Conf?
Next Great Conf in Europe is May 31st to June 2nd, and the call for paper is open.
Right.
And the next upcoming Great Conf is in India, the first weekend of January.
Right.
And I'm going there to speak.
Oh, I'll be there too.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
well, how about that? Different planes, I imagine.
I would imagine, yes.
Very good. We also have, which one should we do? Should we do Brian first, and then we'll go to?
Yeah. I'm up the lower tier.
We got a spectator, right? So Ryan, how do you say Vanderwerf?
Vanderwerf, yep.
Vanderwerf, okay.
Yep, and I work for OCI and the Girls team as well with Soren and Paul.
Well, don't you have a Groovy team now? In Australia?
Yeah, he's just,
That's right.
Paul's the Groovy
He's the
team.
Groovy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the head of the Groovy team.
Yep.
You're the VP of Groovy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just a recommendation, hold that horizontally or away from where you're holding it now. It's probably not, diplomatic. Anyway, you brought, Ryan is the person who plays with toys, meaning we've got here.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, so we got an Amazon tab, we got a Google Home. You're doing a whole talk on this stuff.
Yep, today at 5 o'clock.
So we will definitely talk about that as well. And I do want to mention Tucker, at least for one reason, because you've got here the 3D camera to see all of us at once, right? Apparently that's difficult.
Not really, but I'm also the head of the Boston Groovy Grails spring meetup. Well, I don't know why we had the spring, but anyways, we're always looking for speakers if you're ever in the Boston area. But we also have a budget of 0. But we have a space and we have food and drink, or food and beer.
Pizza budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So very good. So this is third day of the conference, right? So we've got one more to go. We're about halfway through the third day. There have been a lot of interesting talks. We've seen information on Groovy. We've seen information on Grails. Graham Roche, I assume he's busy, but Graham Roche is here talking about Grails. We had a keynote last night by Hans Doctor talking about Gradle as well. So we'll, of course, as far as Andres knows, one of the G's in G3 is Griffin, but we, arguably it's Groovy, Grails, and Gradle.
I've sent him an email about Griffin today, so
wonderful.
We're all good.
And of course, there's Gaelic and
Jeb, Gru's script.
Jeb, right? I'm going to do a Jeb talk and Gru's script. Wow, I haven't thought about that one. And Grush, right?
Yeah.
And the Grush, right? What was the other one you were
But it's not a
doing?
G.
And Gaspar.
Spoke into Spock.
Well, I always say
Got a
if
G at the end.
the G is
Spock.
in Spock,
What do
the
you
G
think about
is silent.
Oh, right.
But of course, in that case, it's probably cloaked. See, so
That was a good one.
not really.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, I got to reuse these gags, So at any rate, do we want to mention anything about any news, or just go directly on?
No, so we have two topics on today's agenda. First is Ryan's toys, and the second is the conference, right? I guess that's that.
Okay. Well, then let's start with the people that we have here. It's always such a pleasure to get to see Paul. I mean, it's quite a trip up from down under. Oh boy, I really should stop doing that, shouldn't I? I mean, I'm either going to get it wrong but at any rate, you're very, very kind. Thank you. Very tolerant there. At least I'm saying that in anticipation. Now he's got to be nice, right? So what talks were you?
There's nothing I can throw at you.
Yeah, no, he cannot stop.
So you're okay. You're okay.
So what talks were you talking about here? Do you want to mention?
2 talks. So one was the Groovy, the awesome parts. So I don't know how you fit that into just a 4-day conference, but I did my best. And then I also did one on Groovy AST transforms.
Right, on how to write AST transforms. I'm embarrassed to say I've still never actually written one.
Well, we should remedy that.
Oh my goodness!
We should not let you out of this room until you've written one.
Is it going to be a transform that takes the word Spock and puts a silent G in front of it?
We can do that.
In parentheses.
Cloaked G.
A cloaked G, yeah. All right. Anyway, I remember the awesome parts one. You have those slides available from a previous time you gave it, right?
Well, I've just updated them, and the updated set is already on.
Is it more or less awesome parts now?
It's slightly more awesome. Yeah.
Always more awesome, right?
As I recall, those are on SlideShare, right?
Correct.
Just as a blanket recommendation, go to slideshare.net, search on Paul King's name, and every presentation there is worth your time, whatever it might be. I had multiple times when I was working on my book when I would spend a couple of days trying to figure something out, and then I would go look and find a presentation by Paul which had everything in detail, far more than I'd ever done. It was really embarrassing, but at least I got over it after the first 2 or 3 times I knew to look there first, so that really helped. So that's very useful, thank you. Why don't you say something about the whole process of joining OCI and everything? That's really big news in the Groovy community.
Yeah. So I guess everyone knows that I've been contributing to Groovy for a while, and a lot of that's, I run my own consulting company in Australia, and so a lot of that contributions have been in my spare time, and it's hard to squeeze in a lot of spare time, but now OCI have come to the party, and it's great to be part of this wonderful team where there's lots of people using Groovy, and I can spend some time helping kick Groovy along and keep things ticking over. So that's really great.
Well, I think you were the #1 contributor for a while, and then Cedric was actually funded to work on that. Cedric Champeau, when he was at Pivotal and they were still supporting it, was funded to work on the framework. So I think he went ahead of you, right? For a
But
brief
now
period of time.
you're back.
I don't know. Have you passed him yet?
It depends on what metric you use.
Oh,
So
okay.
total contributions, I think I'm still a little way ahead.
Yeah.
But I think in 2015, Cedric might have pipped me in terms of.
Yeah, no, but Cedric now writes Kotlin. So he is off the chart. We should disqualify him like completely.
It gets negative.
Be nice to Cedric.
He does what he can.
Yeah,
I know.
He's our ally in that community. I suppose.
He's our undercover spy.
But
Well,
Paul
not
was-
now.
And it's live, right?
Yeah.
But
he still contributes.
I know.
Dirk Koenig is technically lead author on Groovy in Action 2nd edition, but I know you had an enormous amount to do with that book. You did an awful lot of work on that.
Yes.
And thank you very much, because it seemed for a while that that book was never going to get released. I mean, it's a doorstop book. It's like 950 pages.
Yeah.
But you did an enormous amount of work on that. Guillaume, you worked on that as well, right?
Yeah, but just on like 2 chapters, so there's not much
Yeah.
from me.
Yeah, so I had in the first season of Groovy Puzzlers, we had a joke about Groovy in Action Second Edition is being delayed.
That's it. That's the joke.
And no, it was a good joke. It was a good joke. And as we made it, it went published. So yeah, I think it's because of us.
It's only because of that joke
Exactly.
that I finished the book.
Yeah,
just so that he had to stop.
We shamed
That's the
them so
motivation.
much. Yeah. Public shaming always works.
So are you full-time at OCI now?
Half time at the moment. I've got some other stuff that I'm wrapping up, and
Sure.
hopefully I'll ramp up my time early next year or sometime.
So knowing you're working on Groovy there is pretty vague. Do you have any particular tasks that you're hoping to work on or goals that you hope to achieve there?
Well, there's numerous things I'm looking at. So there's some things that have been stalling some of the Grails work that's been progressing. So I've certainly been looking at those, and I've knocked off a few of those. But the main thing that I've been trying to progress is some work we've got going in making releases a bit quicker. So prior to our Apache days, we had spent probably about 2 years getting ourselves to a point where we could just click a button inside Team City, so everyone would get a release. And prior to that, there was a lot of manual steps. So we did the whole DevOps thing and had a really good story there. The approach that we took with that isn't quite Apache compliant.
Right.
They have Apache have a very good due diligence process around releases. That means that they always know the provenance of any of their releases, and they always know the source code's been validated and people have signed it off and all the rest. So we've gone and moved in that direction. We've got all the boxes ticked in there, and now we need to go back and automate everything again. But rather than doing it on the CI server that we had before, we're going to be using Gradle scripts to do all that. And I'm halfway through getting that ready. That was hopefully going to be ready before this week, but giving talks in different parts of the world have delayed some of my time on that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And so that's progressing nicely, and soon we'll see the fruition of that come to light, hopefully. And we should be able to do releases. So anyone in the team will be able to do a release basically just by running a single Gradle script and going release, and there'll be a few little minor steps there, but we'll be able to do releases much more frequently, which is what many people in the Groovy community are asking for, and so that'll be great. It'll be great for us as well.
During Guillaume's keynote, you were mentioning new features that were coming in 2.5 and in 3.0, and you were a little vague about which was which, so I asked him later, and it turns out he wanted to talk to you first. So you two have been discussing while you're here.
Yeah.
What the plans are.
Yeah, do you want me to talk on this, or?
Yeah, feel free.
So I guess it's a little bit of a fluid situation. So this is I'll give you the story sort of as
It's a teaser, yeah.
Yeah. So
Now we go to the scoops.
there's numerous things that have been in the works for 2.5 and 3.0, I guess. One of the big things that is earmarked for 3.0 is a brand new Antler parser based on Antler 4. So we've been stuck on an Antler 2 parser for many years, and it's got Antler 2 is kind of an outdated technology. It's the actual engine itself is never going to get updated. It's well past its use-by date, and we've been sort of tied into that, and it's limited the things that we can do. We've had plans to go to originally Antler 3, but now obviously Antler 4 because it's the latest and greatest. And we've been making very small inroads, but we've got a new committer, Daniel Sum, who's been making great inroads in that parser, and it's now got all of the features, many of the features that are in Java 8 that we never quite ported over have now been added in, and as well as some things that we've been had on the cards for Groovy 3 as well. So that's all looking really good. We've got a few little finessing things to do, but that's all ready. So that's earmarked for Groovy 3.
That's the Parrot, is that the Parrot compiler?
That's the Parrot.
Which Craig Burke would be very upset if you don't have a party Parrot in there somewhere. You know? Okay, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
And what we're investigating at the moment is when we release 2.5, a beta hopefully sometime the next coming weeks, whether we can put a switch in there that will allow people to experiment with the new parser. So it'll only be on Java 8. So if with 2.5, you'll be able to run that prior to Java versions of 8. But if you're on 8 and you flick a little switch, you'll be able to experiment with the parser is the plan. There's a few little hiccups we have to get past to make that a reality. But that's what we're looking at the moment. So.
We also have some worries around the Jigsaw modules,
Yes.
which are a bit of a pain.
Yeah, especially the private access and all that.
Yeah, the Gradle people are struggling with that right now.
Things like, for example, the Groovy modules, which are not Jigsaw modules.
Right.
Sometimes there are packages which are actually spread across different modules, and that's not allowed by Jigsaw modules. So some of the stuff in Groovy util, for example, is spread across different.
But that's the troubles for you. For the users, it will be a nightmare as well, because all the private access that we use so freely and commonly won't work anymore.
Private access and things around reflection. There are some places where we still use reflection, and for example, in between the various updates of GDK9, they kind of break things in the middle, and you don't know where it's coming from. And then the very latest one normally has got a new concept of is it open module, or is it called that? I forget, which enables that again. So we might have
So at the current
it's a pain
situation, if we don't want to make Groovy modules into Java modules, it looks like we'll be able to do a full release on Java 9 without too many issues. But every time they release a new Java 9, things have been breaking around us. So we still don't even know for sure. It's a bit of a moving target, but we're fingers crossed.
But that's a ways away. I mean, the Java 9 isn't even scheduled to be released until the end of July.
But
anyway,
that's actually it's supposed to be already feature frozen.
But for a couple of months.
But it's just not at all.
And they're making huge breaking changes at a time when it's supposed to be.
I think it's that the code freeze was around October, the feature freeze.
Yeah, it's quite recent.
And they still break.
But that's my point. Is that's all stuff for the future. Right. You did mention that Groovy 3 will probably require Java 8. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was another piece of news, by the way, that came out. Is that when Graham talked about new releases of Grails, it was saying that Grails 3.3, I believe, is going to mandate Java 8 because they're going to bring in Spring 5, which requires Java 8, and there was another one.
Hibernate.
And Hibernate 5.2, I think.
Yes.
I think Hibernate 5.2 is the first one that supports the java.time package, local date, local time. Now, they've got a Grails plugin now that handles it anyway, even on Hibernate 5.1, but 5.2 is supposedly natively supporting that, and then that'll all come with Grails as well.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Java 7 is end of life, for a year now.
Yeah.
So it's about time. And getting back to the release.
It's a big world out there, though. I mean, there's a lot of companies. Yeah. Now, what my experience is that well over half the companies I visit have adopted Java 8, even if they haven't adopted Java 8 features, that they're backward compatible.
Yes,
but probably 3/4 of them are headed for that, but that's still a lot that aren't.
There's still a lot that aren't there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can still pay for support, right? You don't get any free public support anymore.
I don't know anybody paying Oracle for support, do you?
No, but it's not a matter of actually getting support.
Some of my banking customers do.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, but I mean, it's a matter of how you treat the release, not can you write to support email or not. It's like the meaning, like if it's end of life, it means you shouldn't use it anymore. Even if you can get the support or cannot, it doesn't.
Yeah, but those of us who live in that world, I mean, much of the world doesn't operate that way. That's the problem, and we don't want to be one of those that, well, in our world, they do things right. We don't want to be like that. That's other languages are like that, which I won't mention. So, but you were giving the keynote, and one of the things about the transition to the Apache structure that you mentioned is that the number of downloads per month has gone up considerably. Right?
Yeah, indeed. So when was that? In March that we officially.
March was the
incubator. The getting out of the entering the incubator.
Incubator,
and
right.
then last November, last year, sorry, where we became a top-level project. And I mean, if you look at the download stats, there's like a big cliff going up just when with that transition to the Apache Software Foundation. And just I think it's like 2 months ago we we crossed the 2 million downloads per month mark, which is pretty impressive.
Sweet.
And we should finish the year with at least over 22 million downloads.
Wow.
Compared to last year where we had 12.7 million, so almost doubling, which is impressive. And in spite of the fact that we've had less time, we had less releases, no big feature, etc. But the curve has been really pretty incredible.
Going back to your impression versus reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very quiet technology. You just don't hear about it that much, but it is
use
growing.
it all the time. They just don't talk about it. It's nice, you know.
What do you think's driving adoption these days?
So I still think that Gradle, in spite of the recent news, was a key driver for adoption. But then I don't know what are the other. I mean, I still think that this big bump in terms of downloads moving to Apache. I think also developers like Apache software in general, because you know, if it's there, it's going to be there for a while, so we can trust these guys, etc. So it's like a kind of stamp of approval. Okay, we're here to stay, and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So, and interestingly, my feeling is that people trust more a foundation like Apache than a commercial entity like Pivotal was before.
I've worked at a lot of places that use open source, and basically, if it's from Apache, it's automatically okay. And there's no vetting process that has to be gone through usually, and that could make a big difference.
So this has been I thought, a rather unexpected benefit of the move to Apache. I mean, we knew it would be good to give it a foundation under you knew it would be good to give it a foundation underneath it, but I never would have expected the downloads to practically double just because of that.
Yeah, so I guess when we started talking about where should we go and so on, the biggest risk we had in our mind was, we've got Jira and Git and everything, repos, they're all sitting on Codehouse and that's going away. We need to, we've got to desperately find somewhere to put these things. And we were thinking that was the main reason to go and move somewhere. And yet that's now 1% of the equation, and the other 99% of the equation is the community that it's sort of shone a light on Groovy, and there's a huge community within Apache that love using other Apache stuff. So they kind of come and knock on the door and, I'd like to contribute, and I do other Apache stuff, so I know exactly what to do.
And we just spoke about it yesterday. There are tons of other Apache projects that might benefit from Gradle DSLs and APIs, all their databases like CouchDB, right, and HBase and Hadoop and all those guys. Now,
well, I was at ApacheCon in Europe 2 weeks ago, and all these projects were coming, big data projects, open office, all coming and say, we've just converted to Gradle, or we've just started using Groovy in all of our backend scripts to do this, and this.
Excellent.
And so, it's kind of an eye-opener to me. But
now, after we teach Gradle, we can make Maven great again.
Moving on. But there's nobody right in this room who's spending all their time on Grails at the moment, right? We didn't get.
Well, I do, but
you're spending some time on it, right?
I spend all my time on Grails.
Oh, you do? Okay.
That's what I do at OCI. Is help clients build Grails.
Yeah, here you
So
go.
do you want to say anything about Grails, especially? And I mean, OCI is here in force. I mean, I saw that group photo that had 7, 8, 9 people in it, and sort of missed it.
Very few times. It's very hard for us because we're all over the world to be in one spot at the same time. This is the best we've done so far from OCI. We have almost everyone there.
Well, what's the size of the team now?
Well, Graham said it was about 15.
It's getting about 15. It just grows.
That's huge.
I do want to mention,
keep getting more and more work. So
one of the people who's been doing a lot of work at OCI, he's not new to the team apparently. Apparently he's been there since January, but I didn't know about that much. James Klee.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things he did was something that was brought up at in Graham's keynote. He did 2 things. One is they now have start.grails.com, which is very much like the Spring Boot initializer. You know, it's a web page which you can also access via curl, you know, and create a new Grails project. Now, it's not exactly that difficult to create a Grails project anyway, but it's a nice feature, especially for those people who are familiar with Spring Boot. And the other thing that James did is that we now have back the Grails wrapper.
Yep.
Right? So, in fact, once I heard that in a keynote, I was doing a Grails workshop right after that. And I said, let's start with that. So we just went to the web page and created an app. And then the people, we had a couple people on Windows who were having difficulty with settings. Said, just run Grails W for all the commands, the interactive console and everything. And as long as you have a Java home variable working, it worked like
Everyone's
a charm.
super happy that's back. And we've gotten more and more time. People are getting more and more time to help work on the framework. We do client work, but then also more people are helping with the framework. So James has done a lot of work on the profile stuff. Also, tons in that area, and he just gave a talk this morning on custom profiles. So I already talked with him about making an Alexa custom profile, so you can make a Grails app that has all of that stuff in it. Right?
Which is an absolute natural segue. Do you want to talk something about Alexa?
So let's just do it.
Okay. This is an Amazon Tap. This is the battery powered one. I'm doing a talk today at 5 o'clock on all the different things you can do with this. And the latest thing that I've done, and you may have seen some tweets about it, is the Groovy podcast application. So with Ken's help in the legal department, I was able to get that published live. So anyone that has an Alexa can say, install the Groovy podcast skill from the app, and then you can just say, you know, Alexa, ask Groovy podcast to play latest episode.
Starting playback of latest Groovy podcast episode.
And it's live. We need to stop it now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome.
Stop.
Stop is right. Yeah. How about that? So actually,
Pausing playback.
that reminded
Say
me.
resume to restart playback.
Shut up. Fine.
Okay, so now
It was the latest issue of the Grails Diary came out. Did you see that?
yes.
Okay, it was this morning or yesterday.
Yeah,
in the order,
yes,
and
yeah, yes.
Jacob, what's his last name? I'm forgetting. Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob.
Jacob.
That's how I call him.
Jacob. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it.
What is it?
Right? It's like
Yes.
AE, or I mean, it's got too many vowels, right?
Yeah.
But at any rate, he tweeted, or he put in that Grails Diary that apparently he's one of our 4 or 5 listeners and was not happy that we keep saying that. So we will specifically mention to Jacob, yes, we are reading the Grails Diary. I mean, after all, we wouldn't have much of a podcast without it, to be honest. You know.
That and Groovy Calamari.
Yep, and Groovy Calamari with Sergio doing lots of things. At
What we
Sergio
do
Delamo.
is just read the titles of them.
Interesting tweets.
We have Alvaro here, who is also from Madrid, right?
Yep, we got an Ivan.
And Ivan is
And
here.
Ivan is here as well.
Alvaro's giving a talk right at this moment. So
And Ivan is going to be next at 3.
Yeah.
So I guess we should plug the Greach conference as well for people.
Yes, if they can be.
Yeah, that's the build-up.
Reach in
week
Madrid,
of April.
last week in April. Okay.
Yes.
No, it's the last week of March.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And
March,
it's the
April.
last few days of March and one day of April.
Okay,
It's
so
in the show
you
notes.
wanted people to miss this conference so they will come to GreatCon.
No. I am going to miss Breach this year, which is a bummer.
Well, is there anything you want to say about GreatConf or anything else here?
Not more than I already have, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone
And-
should come to all of them.
Oh, yeah, I could mention that we have Venkat as a keynote speaker
Oh,
at GreatConf Europe,
Ah.
which is very nice.
It is.
Which for the 1 or 2 people who wouldn't know who that is, that's Venkat Subramaniam.
Yeah.
And he is, well, he's Venkat. I suppose there's just no other way to say it.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
he's a piece of work. So it'll be fun to have that. Was there anything else you want to point out about OCI or any Grails work going on or anything you're interested in?
I don't think so. I mean, we're going to be ramping up more and more stuff. So really, it's 3.3 is going to be the next big thing. And the Java 8's pretty big news. There's a thing, Jeff, that I tweeted about yesterday. They're going to redo all the testing framework stuff to be with traits instead of using the old mixins, right? That was something that got looked over. We didn't have time to redo all that for the Grails 3 release, and Jeff's planning a milestone release, he said, next week. So
Yeah, that's Jeff Brown, for
Jeff
those
Brown,
who
yes.
don't know, right? Just mentioning it. Or Jeff Scott Brown is what he puts on his title, but I've always called him Jeff, so I don't know. Any even hints of a new definitive guide to Grails or any other books on Grails 3? I mean, we have that one supposedly in the works.
Yeah,
but I don't know
Eric
anything else about it.
Helgerson, I believe from Agile Orbit, is working on a book.
Well, we've
Right.
mentioned that a couple
Yeah.
times. Have you heard anything, any progress?
I've heard someone said that there was a lot done so far, but I haven't seen that with my own eyes, so I'm not really sure. But he's a really smart guy, and he's super motivated and super eager. So I would expect him to crank through and produce something fairly quickly, because he's a pretty quick guy.
Dan Woods had a lot done on learning Ratpack for months.
Yeah. You had to heckle him, right? And then
Yeah, no, but our public shaming did the trick, right?
Yes.
Well, it was fun at any rate. It was fun for us. So Dan did a whole workshop day on Ratpack, and he also just gave a talk on it as well.
And he has another one, Google.
I think that's Groovy in the Cloud.
Groovy in the Cloud, yeah.
Yeah, and now of
On
course,
Amazon AWS.
yeah, because you work for Google now. You're doing cloud-related things.
Convince him to do it.
Yeah, good luck with that. But first you need to fix the Google Hangouts and the Google Home.
Because I can't get my Google Home to play the Groovy podcast yet. But oh well.
Yeah.
You know, your
As soon-
other.
As soon as their API opens up, we'll make stuff for this too. So
Yeah,
for
for
Ruby
real.
and Rails.
You shouldn't
So
have to.
yeah, just flip the switch for the APIs, please. We're waiting for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't we ask Alexa to fix Google Home, or it doesn't really work?
This is good.
People do speculate about having them argue with each other, and especially when you throw in some machine learning, that could be entertaining at some point.
Yeah, I did see an announcement at reInvent. A buddy's there right now. They did a keynote. So apparently they're opening up all of the guts of Alexa and all the AI algorithms publicly to anyone to use. So apparently they demoed a robot from the Alexa AI talking to someone on Google Facebook Messenger.
Of all
You can
things.
tell if it's a person or not. So
Yeah.
you get
As I just saw this tweet yesterday, I'm not afraid from a machine that will pass the Turing test. I'm afraid from a machine that deliberately will hide the fact that they passed the Turing test.
So one of those Westworld robots that can lie to you or whatever.
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
you'll let your guard down. Yeah.
I think that pretty much covers what I've seen at the conference so far. I mean, other than individual talks and things. Anything you wanted to mention, or anything you got coming up you want to talk about? Or I imagine you're not ready to dive into another book right away, right?
Redaction third edition.
I've got
will be released
not very many
next week.
free cycles.
Yeah, no, I guess Groovy 3 will remind the revision of Groovy Action.
If we find authors to take care of
We just
that.
need one extra co-author, and we'll be fine. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm a failed author.
That's a target-rich environment, which I'm just going to walk away from. So, okay.
No, you are in the list. The only reason they didn't bring you because you are already signed on the Groovy in Action 3. You're in the list, so.
Oh, you didn't know?
As I often say when Brooke comments, moving on. Yeah, I think what I did a Spock day here, and I talked about Gradle recipes for Android again this morning, and I've got a Jeb talk tomorrow, which is largely, it's the @delegate annotation, because I'm just basically delegating to Craig Atkinson. Everything I know about Jeb comes from him. So it just like when I talk about Ratpack at Rich Web next week, that'll all be Dan. I took careful notes, so I'm basically giving his talk, including the jokes, pretty much all the way through.
Perhaps it's not
Yes,
the best part. So be careful.
Well, maybe I might want to think about that. That's actually true. But is there anything
not
else?
here.
Yeah, I just got some news on the Android Google Groovy stuff from Andrew. That stuff's going well and strong. I have a talk tomorrow. I've got Android Wear here working with all the latest build tools.
Oh, cool.
And he says they're doing a new a new release for the Spock library for Android testing. So he says he's going to put that out.
Does he pronounce his
today.
name? Is that Reitz or Reitz? How do you pronounce it?
I used to
Reitz?
call him Andrew Reitz, but he's never said it.
Well, it's REI,
So-
which if it's German, it'd be Reitz, but I don't know. I mean, he told me, I just forgot. It's not his fault, it's my fault. But at any
He's a
rate,
sport.
he works on the Groovy plugin for
Yeah, he's been
Android.
keeping it up to date. I've got all the latest tools and build things and SDKs, and everything's still working good. So
Yeah. The only problem is that the alternative language that's gaining market share on Android is not Groovy. It's
Well, we have to expect a quarterly plug from Ken, right? He couldn't
Yeah.
resist.
oh
He
my
couldn't
God.
resist.
Oh.
Please no, please. We have enough trouble after. That's all I'm going to say about the current election season. So that'll be it. Anything else? Heard any good jokes lately? Did I tell you I heard a good Perl joke, by the way? It was, if you get a million monkeys on a million typewriters, it eventually will type a Java program, and the rest will be Perl programs. Good enough? Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you here, enjoy the rest of the conference. We will definitely do a podcast again in a couple weeks because there'll be a holiday break, so I imagine we'll have time. Which, see, that's the thing. During a break, we can actually have time to do this.
To
and
read
will,
the Groovy Calamari and Gradles.
Right, as long as they're doing it, yeah, right. And then we'll convert this to the audio feed and update the RSS feed as soon as possible. And
Yep, as soon as the
You'll be able to
RSS is
consume it
updated
from-
on Podbean,
yeah.
it'll be available on the Alexa
right,
skill.
so that's the process is that this gets exported to YouTube, and then I have to convert the YouTube video to an MP3 and then upload it to Podbean, which is where we normally have it. And that'll update the RSS feed, and that updates the nofluffjuststuff.com/Groovy Podcast homepage, as well as iTunes and any other source of RSS.
And the Alexa skill.
And now the Alexa skill, right? So wonderful. Enjoy that. I hope everybody has a good time with it, and we will see you next time. Anything else?
Bye.
All right.